Let's switch gears. Let's talk about another team that's supposed to be a title contender, but also has some concerns, specifically a clip of head coach Geno Auriemma.
Paige has had trouble getting going, it seems like, in a few of these bigger games now. I mean, just what do you feel like is kind of the block with her in terms of being able to start as hot as she has in big game play?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's a real kind of conundrum, you know. Paige wants the ball in her hands all the time. Then when they trap her, she don't want the ball in her hands. So then we try to get her moving from, you know, one thing to another, moving without the ball, and you know, it's so. So we've got to come to some sort of definitive thing here, how we're going to handle it. But right now, it's not the winning edge for sure. And passing up stuff, you know, like I don't get it.
Wow, jeez, wow.
These comments from head coach Auriemma came after UConn dropped a game to Tennessee a couple days ago. A couple months ago, before we took our break, you and I on the show talked about whether or not Paige was overrated. And the consensus between both of us is that no, Paige is not overrated, but she's just not playing at the level that we're used to seeing her play for various reasons. The main point that you mentioned, obviously, her lower body has been through a lot. If you think about all of the injury that she suffered during her collegiate career, I feel like UConn's in the same boat as USC. Should we be concerned about UConn this close to the tournament? And especially if Coach Geno is saying that he even has some concerns about the way that Paige has been playing this season.
Well, remember what I said. They're top 3 in assists in the country, so they're not in the same boat as USC, and they have a system. That's the difference between them and a team like USC. But, you know, going back to that game, USC beat them on talent. You know, remember we watched that game earlier this year. We were both watching, texting each other. USC's possessions were atrocious at the end.
They were god-awful.
UConn was just worse than them. UConn does have their own issues, but USC just ended up beating them because Juju was that much better than Paige, was that much better than, you know, their best player at the time. So that's how they won that game, basically, you know, and that's how they can continue to win games, even if it's not pretty or if it's not what we like, you know. That's why I'm like, they could be Elite 8, they could be Final 4. Like, their Juju's that good, Kiki's that good, they have good players, they could do it. What I've realized about UConn watching that Tennessee game back, they are now a finesse team. One thing I've realized is that they have embraced the fact that they're a finesse team, and I don't think Geno likes that. I don't think that's their nature. I don't think that's their history. And I think what's happened is that's, you know, they're taking, which is what happens in sports, especially in basketball. The team takes on the identity, and in other sports too. The team takes on the identity of the best player, and finesse doesn't have to mean soft. It can mean there can be some soft tendencies, but it's not just saying you're soft. Finesse can be complimentary. Finesse is just kind of like a style. But Tennessee was punching them in the mouth, pressing them. Athleticism, Tennessee, man, we got to watch out for them. That Spearman girl, Jewel Spear, Z Spearman, that dual forward, she is just like tough to deal with. Super athletic, and they're pressing, they're shooting threes. I think her name's Kim Caldwell, the coach, is doing a really nice job there. But their style was overwhelming UConn with athleticism and speed and shooting. And it was a good game down to the end. Paige hit a big 3 down the stretch. AZ hit some big shots, but they were even going at AZ. Rebecca Lobo mentioned it on the broadcast at one point that Geno should take AZ out because Tennessee was going at her so much, and they were defensively. So I just think, you know, you look at UConn's guards, it's just looking finesse. Like there's not much pop or athleticism. No one's really able to take over the game besides Paige. And of course, my other point is Sarah Strong. And I mentioned it before that she is now the story at UConn. By March Madness, maybe during March Madness, it should become more of a story that Sarah Strong is actually the best player on that team, because she has the most ability to do what she wants and operate and move as she wants with her size, her strength, her shooting touch. She is on a different level. I don't know why I don't want to say, but I don't want to just flat out say she's better than Paige, probably just because of the experience. She's a freshman. Paige is still big time, still super efficient. But this girl, Sarah Strong, is what makes UConn special right now. And she's a freshman, and that's not a bad thing. But even Sarah, like she's more physical and overpowering than like Paige, but like the team is more like Paige than like Sarah Strong, if that makes sense. So I think they're just struggling because they're really finesse right now, and going up against a team like Tennessee that can run up and down, that has athleticism, good players, like they're going to struggle when teams really get up on them and pressure. AZ's not looking the same. I know she's dealt with injuries. She's not looking super confident. So it's just they're kind of just looking a little finesse right now, really finesse.
I'm having a hard time with UConn. For different reasons.
Hard time, a lot out here, huh?
But for a different reason, for why I'm having a hard time with USC, because they look like they're a ship without a captain. I don't know what's going on there. I'm having a hard time with UConn because I know, because I've seen it this season. Even I know that UConn is better than what they've looked like the past couple of times they've been out there, no matter wins or losses. That Tennessee game is tough. That's a really tough loss. I don't think I've seen UConn struggle more than they did in that Tennessee game. If you want to say the Notre Dame game this season, I got no debate with you there, but Notre Dame has had UConn's number for the last 3 seasons. That wasn't like just an out of nowhere thing. Like UConn has struggled against Notre Dame the last 3 seasons. They haven't beaten them. But this Tennessee game was different. And again, just putting it in the context of where we are in the season, it's February 12th. Conference tournaments start in a couple weeks. At this point in the season, I feel like a lot of this stuff we should have figured out. I feel like a lot of this has to be figured out. Like, you and I have had probably 3 conversations on this show about Sarah Strong potentially being the best player, or even just flat out being the best player on this team. And I think my biggest takeaway from Geno's comments, because even before that, he said some of our best players don't act like they're our best players. Like, Geno, if that's the case, then like, do something about it. Like, I don't know. Like, I like, if Sarah Strong has been a consistent presence on this basketball team, win, lose, or draw, she's had a fantastic season. I feel like at some point there should have been a conscious decision to say, you know what, we're going to play through her and see what that does for us. Because clearly what we're doing right now doesn't work. And it's one thing to go away from your best player in moments. It's one thing to go away from your best player for a game or two. But based on Geno's comments, this seems like Geno's been fed up with this for a while. Like Geno's not just going to say this in a post-game presser after a loss to Tennessee just because he's butthurt about losing to Tennessee. This isn't just something he's just feeling out of the wazoo. He's felt this for a while. So again, my question as someone who's never played the sport before at this level is, if this is really the case, if you're genuinely having concern about your best players not actually looking like your best players, if you're genuinely having concerns about whether or not Paige is being aggressive or playing the way that you want her to play, why haven't you made the conscious decision as the coach to look at a girl in Sarah Strong, who has been great this season, who I believe is, last I checked, top 5. I know she's certainly top 10 in double-doubles in the country this season, I think, and say, we're going to play through her because something about what she's doing has been working, and like reevaluate. It's too late. It's too late for this. If you're UConn, it's too late to sit here and be like, oh, our best players aren't being like our best players and it's not working. It's too late into the season for this. And so for the same reasons as USC, they're probably going to be an Elite 8 team off the strength of their talent, because this is a talented basketball team. And unlike USC, they have a system. But I don't know, bro. And I'm going to ask you this. I don't know if I would. They have talented players. I don't think they have talented players. I don't know if I would say they're they have been playing like it, but they have tons of players. But like, I don't know what's better right now, which is why I said maybe they're on the same boat as USC. I don't know if it's better to not have a system or to have a system that's just not working, because for both of these teams, it's yielded the same results. Relatively underwhelming seasons up to this point as far as what you expect the teams to look like heading into the tournament. Like, I feel like something needs to give, and there's not a lot of time for it to start giving.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, it is on the coach to get their players going, especially the best player. Like, that is part of Geno's responsibility. But I do think that he trusts his players and gives them a lot of the responsibility of making the plays, and the players do have to make the plays. And so I think that he is noticing what I have talked about with Paige, and I think it keeps happening, and that she is just, she's not, she is a very smart, efficient, talented, skilled, high level basketball player. But for different reasons, for whatever reason, her nature right now is not to just go out and completely dominate the game. She can, in moments, she will hit big shots, but it does seem like she's being not that she's being passive, but she's not a dominant player right now. Sarah Strong has more of the ability to be dominant, and that's not on. I think Geno's just frustrated seeing that play out. Now, he should help her do something about it, but it's on her. And I will say, to the talent point, they're missing, like, when I think about UConn's great teams, they don't have like a signature wing, which I think is hurting them personnel wise. Like I said, their guard unit, like when they have Paige, Caitlin Chen, and AZ on the floor, they're small, they're thin. Like, Paige is a good defender, but she's not, but they're lacking like the athleticism and like a dynamic wing like that. When I think of like a Swin Cash that they've had them over the years. But they don't have that. So I do think their system is still working, and I think it will get them. They will win games because they still beat you on back cuts. They still have, to your point, they still have talented players, and they can still make things happen. Sarah Strong is going to come on strong in the tournament, and they're going to be a Sweet 16, maybe Elite 8 team as well. They're still going to be that because they are that good. But again, they lost to USC, so we see what happens when they come up against a team that does have talent and can just beat them if they have the athleticism and the scoring to overpower them. So that's where the concern comes for UConn.
Before we get into Unrivaled, the last thing I'll say is this. Sarah Strong right now leads this team in rebounds per game, steals per game, blocks per game. She's our second leading scorer behind Paige. I believe she's like second or third in assists. I know Paige leads the team in assists, obviously. In 4 days, UConn plays South Carolina.
That's right. Sunday afternoon.
That's their last chance. Like, I mean, look, I mean, they've got, I mean, they're beating the brakes off St. John's right now. That's cute. Like,
yeah,
they've got Seton Hall, they've got Butler, they've got Creighton, and they've got Marquette. They have one shot
to show
one opportunity.
Yeah.
Sunday afternoon against South Carolina. And
right.
and as a South Carolina fan, and you and I have talked about this,
that's a big game for them too.
It's a big game for them too. If that is not a Sarah Strong game, like if that is not a game where Sarah Strong has her fingerprints all over it from wire to wire, because you and I have talked about how really weird it's been watching the South Carolina team without a dominant presence down low. And we've seen twice now this season them succumb to that absence down low. If UConn can't figure it out in 4 days, I don't care that they're beating St. John's by 30. Beat them by 50 for all I care. If they can't figure it out Sunday afternoon, I think that game's going to be very, very telling for just how far they can go in the tournament. If they continue to look weird and discombobulated, and if Geno continues to be unpleased with how they're looking. Like, that should be, if there's ever a time for Geno to say, you know what, we're just going to go to Sarah Strong and just see what happens, that game against South Carolina would be the game to do that, in my opinion.
She's going to be their best matchup, just like she was against Notre Dame. It's going to be their best matchup advantage.